and welcome back to my channel. I am Sarah Scharneber and this is AuthorTube NewTubers. I believe this is the second episode of 2020. I think that's what I'm calling it. Anyway, I've got a list of new AuthorTubers and their channel links will all be down below. I'll tell you a little bit about them if I could find anything about them. Otherwise, I'll just do a list at the end of people I don't know much about. So make sure you go check all these channels out. If you have the time and the inclination, you can subscribe to all of them. It would be lovely. If not, please make sure you subscribe to any ones that you find interesting, because all of these people have 100 subscribers or less. Katie Reed writes fantasy. Rachel Bateman writes YA contemporary horror, mystery, and thriller. Rachel Lane writes fantasy fiction. Prince Reese writes YA urban fiction, urban fantasy, and urban sci-fi. Mary Wokenfuss writes sci-fi and contemporary fantasy. Z Falk writes fantasy, YA, romance. Scarlett Cole writes YA dystopian, paranormal, and fairy tale retellings. Laurel Webb writes fantasy, sci-fi, romance, and contemporary romance. M. Sambara, or Sambara, not 100% sure, writes romantic suspense, contemporary romance, and romantic comedy. Melissa M. Fry writes realistic fiction, fantasy, and poetry. Emerson J. Wright writes fantasy and sci-fi. Brianna May writes fantasy and sci-fi. E.A. Copen or Coppen, once again, not 100% sure, writes horror, urban fantasy, and sci-fi. B.C. Brown Books writes supernatural mystery and romantic fantasy. Lynn Fairchild Hawkes writes YA, and also nonfiction, I believe they had said about Shakespeare. That does it for the people I have today whose genres I know. Here's the list of people I don't know the genres that they write, but please go check out their channels as well. L.B. Autry, Lizzie Murphy, Crafty Nomad Life, Natalie Ruth Taylor, and Evan Wrights. Please make sure you go and subscribe to all of these channels. I thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me. Don't forget to subscribe down below so that you can make sure you get all of these. I also do write-ins at 7 p.m. Central on Friday nights on this channel as well. On Sundays, I have typically a vlog. Sometimes there's a little other stuff in there, including video games sometimes. Just kind of depends. Lately, there's been more video games. So yeah, that does it for this week. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys on Friday. Good writing. Bye.